I just have a tip for Lisa as a moderator. Don't put 4 mints into your mouth and then start speaking on a microphone. Anyone who wants to do that now they're tucked in. So if I look like a gerbil, I'm sorry about that. We are at our penultimate session now. And as I alluded to as we closed out our last session, we are already having healthy debate. I had to interrupt them in the green room to bring them in. So I think we are in for absolute goodie. Virtual, hybrid, in person, the great debate, we're going to call this, of Mice Book Expo. Expertly moderated. I am convinced that she's going to take over my company and job. Please give a warm welcome to Lisa from the Wentworth Collective.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Well, I'm already winning because yesterday I didn't realise until after my session that I was actually wearing my dress the wrong way round. So there's a reason why. So I already feel I'm off to a great start. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. I'm personally really excited about this session, just because between the four of us, we've had some really healthy debates about it. We've agreed, we've disagreed, we've been on our briefing calls far too long, and even then, when we were just in the room there, we were chatting away. So today, what we're going to be talking about, first of all, the three people who sat next to me are going to introduce themselves in a moment, are award winners from the Mice Book V Awards last year, and there's a reason why they were award winners, which they're going to share with us. And during our time together today, we are going to be talking about why they were award winners, how they navigated it, but more importantly, looking forward and what they see the trends are going to be and what they think the future is going to be. We want this to keep very, very interactive. There's lots of interactivity between the four of us, but also if you do have any questions or want to butt in or want to know anything, they're here for a reason. Do put your hand up and answer those questions. You've got the microphone, Sam, thanks. So just that you know, I'm Lisa, I'm founder of the Wentworth Collective. We're a global event consultancy. I've been working in events for, I think it's nearly 30 years now, which is a very long time, mostly in the professional services sector. I've worked agency side, I've worked corporate side, and I'm a child of the travel industry. My dad worked for Pan Am for 25 years, so it's sort of in my blood. And like I'm sure many of you, when the pandemic happened, business just wiped out overnight. And what I found was that I had to reach out to my collective, the people who have supported me and who I've known throughout the years, and dig deep and relook at the business and find different ways of working and to find solutions for our clients. We work in the business of creating exceptional experiences that had lasting impact. And when I thought about it and I saw other industries that were thriving, I thought, well, if they can do it, why can't we? And so fast forward, we dug deep and we found those creative solutions for our clients virtually. And 2 years on, fortunately, much like many of the people that we've seen, the business is booming and I'm exceptionally happy. And thank you for Chet for inviting us here to have this conversation as well. So that's about me, and over to you.
So I'm Michael. I'm the co-founder of XM, which was founded in 2003, and we're a full-service marketing and events agency. We developed our own virtual platform to... We do some quite niche work in the exhibition world, and we got some clients that had a big problem that with the exhibition cancelled, they were forced to give revenue back or go down the virtual route. So we were really lucky that we had people with a massive open door that they wanted to explore virtual, and we developed our own virtual platform, and it's been really successful for us, and it's actually part of our business moving forward, the virtual side of things. We'll talk about various things later, but we see this as a continuing division of our business that is a new revenue stream that we didn't have pre-pandemic. So we're very excited about the future of it.
Can I just interrupt you there just before go on to Natalie? Had you run virtual events prior to the pandemic?
No, I'm like a Luddite. We'd done nothing virtually. I think if everyone's honest in our industry, everybody saw virtual events as a threat to our revenue streams and the way we did business. And everyone was a bit like, this thing doesn't work, it's rubbish, it'll never work. And even now people are like, this will go back in its box and we'll go straight back to live. And actually, I could give you countless examples where a virtual event is better than an in-person event.
Hold that there, because then we're gonna go on to that to see how the conversation got. Otherwise, we won't introduce anyone. Natalie, over to you.
Sure, thank you. I'm from Brands at Work. I'm the key account director there. And as Lisa was just introducing herself, I was quickly trying to work out how long I've been in the industry, and it's actually around 20 years. A lot of that was in project delivery, and then I moved to client-facing roles for about the last decade, really. So I've seen the agency live from both sides, which I think is super useful and a very good perspective to have. So Brands at Work, we are a creative comms agency who really specialise in that brand storytelling, bringing brands to life, bringing content to life, making it sticky, making it memorable. Could be hybrid, virtual, live, could be a film, it could be a written piece, really any internal comms. For us, at the beginning of the pandemic, our year looked great. We had lots of stuff confirmed for the year, was looking to be one of our best years yet. And then, of course, as I'm sure most of us here experience, that just cleared overnight when the pandemic hit. And even though we had the internal expertise to run virtual events, run hybrid events, of course, most of our revenue was coming through live events at that point. So we very quickly navigated the virtual world, and we were just having this conversation earlier about how suddenly the pool of virtual solutions just exploded, and had to navigate our way through pretty much what was worth taking notice of and what was just rubbish, what offered the moon on a stick but couldn't deliver it. So we had this big learning curve, but what always remained at the core of what we do is that storytelling and the content. Like, content is king. So we went on to have one of the agency's most successful years during the pandemic, and we're so fortunate to be able to say we did that, to have not only survived but kind of thrived through the pandemic, and of course picking up awards for it as well, which is brilliant.
Okay, we're going to talk about how you made that happen in a moment, but on to you, Robbie.
Hi everyone, I'm Robbie from Marble London. I'm CTO and one of the founders there. We have been around for 7 years now. At the start of the pandemic, 2019 was a fantastic year for us. We focus on live experience marketing and communication. Live experience, I think, being the big thing, which we had to change as our tagline, because it went, very much to virtual, hybrid, and any other creative way. Really, you could work with clients and brands to still activate, still be present. I think one of the biggest things we were working with, and what we do similar to Brands at Work, is you're always trying to find the best route for a client to deliver, to communicate their brand messaging, whatever it might be. And suddenly the parameters of that completely changed. It wasn't how you're engaging with people on the ground, but how you're engaging with people online, not through social media, not through, standard advertising routes, but, creative, design-led engagement. So that was, our journey over the last 2 years was really working out how best to do that, different platforms, different activations, bring people together in creative ways. There was so much Zoom fatigue or online fatigue that actually is just trying to do things differently to other people, which kept it engaging, which I think was why we ended up winning one of the awards we did, which was great.
And why do you think, and I'll start with you, Michael, why do you think you were successful during the pandemic? What do you think were and the same question to, all three of you, what do you think were the attributes and the behaviours and the DNA in you as organisations? We've seen, there have been some agencies who have thrived and some agencies that haven't. There have been some corporates that have run, I've seen some of my corporates that haven't run any events so what's the difference?
We had to be. We've got a staff of 28 people. If we didn't do virtual, we'd have gone to the wall. So you start to think pretty quickly about how you can turn this into a revenue stream. And I think as event management people, we are incredibly resilient, creative, and all those things. And all of our team showed that in abundance to kind of turn around. I mean, we had £4 million worth of revenue cancel in 4 weeks on me. And then we were like, right, we are done, unless we could provide a solution. So we worked out to find out what the need was from our customers,
Right.
how we satisfied that need, and then we went to them and said, give us a load of cash and we'll build you a platform, and they did.
And just unpacking what you said before, you said about that you think, virtual, why virtual is better. So now that you're coming out of this, and 2 years on, and you'll say it's virtual, why is that? Why do you think virtual's?
I think people have done virtual events now and done some really good ones. There's probably been some awful poor ones that have been delivered as well, but the ones that have seen the positive have seen how that there is a place for this, and it could either be restricting travel or lots. I think virtual. I think you're still going to have your big events, but those big events take so much time to organise and plan that if you could do 4 of those a year, people would, but they would never do that.
Yeah.
But if you can do virtual little and often in around kind of you one big event and create, I think virtual events actually flows into an engagement platform, and then you're starting giving people a reason to kind of go back. It's an information hub, and then you're broadcasting from there every quarter, as well as doing your big event for 2,000 people once a year.
Yeah.
And I think it's proven that it can work, and it's significantly cheaper, and as long as you do it well, the benefits are there. I'm not saying it's going to kill live events by any stretch, but I actually think people will invest more in events knowing that they can deliver something quality over a prolonged period of time, rather than think the only way we can do this is spend a huge amount of money doing one big massive event. So I think it's made people realise that we can do it with more touch points virtually.
Yeah. And then on to you, Natalie. Why do you think Brands at Work survived? What was it in your DNA?
Well, actually, it's quite different to what Michael's just said. We intentionally avoided going down the one platform route. We are completely tech agnostic, and I sort of alluded to it already, but we're really focused on the content still. And we carried on creating what we thought was meaningful content, delivering, brand storytelling and all those sort of strategic points that are hard to even get across in a live environment, working out the best way to do that in an engagement way, and then matching it to the right tech solution. So we did it the opposite way around, and I kind of just said this to you guys, I'll say it again. We say that the platform is like our ballroom, and we just focus on what we say in it. And so we just carried on focusing on bringing those content to life, really. And I think that's what put us in good stead. Continuing to deliver.
And we were saying before,
content.
what we found, I've certainly found, sometimes I have clients approach me and say, right, I've got the platform.
Yeah.
And this is what we're going to do, right, can you help organise it? And then we're like, well, wait a minute, when you peel it back and you find out the objectives, you're like, this platform isn't going to work, and it'd be the equivalent in the live environment saying, right, I found Excel, we've got a 200-person kick-off meeting, but let's run your event. I don't know if everyone feels this, it just wouldn't happen.
It just wouldn't happen.
No.
Even 2 years on, we still get it. People come to us and say, well, so we want to use this platform, but we want to do X, Y, and Z. And for us as an agency, we have to push back and say, yeah, but why? Why do you want to use that platform? And again, just focusing on objectives. What are you trying to achieve? Let's think about the solution first and then match it to the tech. We don't need gimmicks. We don't need new tech for new tech's sake. Let's make sure we're actually delivering something meaningful first and then match it to the right solution.
Okay, brilliant. And Robbie, why do you think that Marble London's, what were the attributes from your organisation?
So I think we're kind of a real mix between the two. I think the industry as a whole is filled with highly creative, determined people, and us as an agency, we've got some fantastic people in the team. So, suddenly when they're faced with a year's worth of work cancelled and almost at a loose end, thinking, Christ, am I going to be on furlough, or what am I going to do? It's amazing how creative people become. And so we had a massive outreach push to old clients, current clients, people we wanted to work with, of just what they could do to activate, what they could do differently, whether it was internal team building because everyone was working from home, whether it was a new brand activation, whether it was online conferencing. But we also don't tie to a platform. We kind of float to whichever fits best. And some agencies say they'll only use X, Y, Z. Infuriating, but you kind of roll with it just to get to the end point. But so yes, I think what made us successful is it was a moment of everyone reskilled, everyone rolled up their sleeves, everyone got involved, and everyone got creative with what you can do, what was possible from sitting at home in your sitting room, or with your children playing next door, or with the washing machine going off, or whatever it might be. But everyone just got really stuck in, got involved, and it's amazing how quickly people learn a whole new set of skills, even if they say they're a complete Luddite before. Suddenly you have your own platform and delivering world-class events to people who'd be judging it very critically. So I think it was, just great resilience, and I think people taking ingenuity on how best they could work for their clients.
Yeah, and I know I asked Natalie and Michael the question before, but I'll ask you, had you run virtual events prior to the pandemic? What was it like?
No. Again, live stream is always something which kind of caused me a lot of stress, headache, because I had a technical production background. I like to be able to see the things you can fix on site, and it's much easier. But when you deal with internet latencies, or like things which can drop out, which are fully out of your control, it's the thing which gives me the biggest heart palpitation still when running a virtual event. Because you could have your keynote speaker coming on, and he's from home, and his internet starts dropping out. There's very little you can do about it. That's why you can start doing pre-records, pre-recorded and streamed in. But those are the things why I hadn't really done a huge amount of it before. But then, as I say, you all adapt and have to, needs must, I guess. Yeah.
So we've spoken a lot about the past, why you were successful, the DNA and the culture of organisation. Let's start to look forward a little bit now. Actually, no, I'll ask that a second. The other question I want to ask, just going back to DNA, because we've discussed this before. How have your clients responded? Like, clearly, between the three of you, you've worked with your clients. It's been a journey with your clients. Now, what's the journey been like with them in the past 2 years in these new solutions?
Well, like I say, our clients were faced. So what we do is very specific, and hence us building our own platform. So we're running big trade show exhibitions. We needed to have the capacity to have one-to-one meetings, but you also needed to be able to transact through the platform. And so those three things didn't exist in the marketplace. And so, we didn't see anything that we felt worked. So we've built that for those customers to solve that need. And from their point of view, it was probably 25% of the cost, the same revenue that they got. They got more people attending, and they did more transactions on the day. So they were over the moon by it. They then repeated it the following year, but now they've wanted to go back to live, right? Because it's a very they did it because they had to, but now they're looking at different kind of virtual solutions. So although we have our platform that works for what they needed originally, we now work with other platforms to deliver things that we basically looked at the problem in front of us, solved that with our platform, but now we're like, actually, we understand virtual events, we understand that there's a market for it, and we're going out and winning more global projects now for our... So we've had clients that we've worked for years and years, but we've only done UK and Europe work. But now we're doing global work for them because we can offer them a virtual solution that we never would have been able to do before had we not cut our teeth in something that was it was a free hit for us, because as long as what we built wasn't absolutely rubbish, they weren't going to give any money back to all their customers. And that was their main objective to begin with. So we were really lucky how it worked. And we then went to our clients' main competitors and said, you must have this same problem. And we sold it 3 times over. And that was how we kind of got through it.
No, that's interesting. And so, Natalie, say, for example, now as we're coming through this and you've had success, say virtually, what's the appetite now of your customers moving forward? Are they all rushing back to live, or we haven't touched upon hybrid because I know that's where the healthy debate starts, so I'm saving that. How are you finding it with your clients? What's their vision moving forward?
We're definitely seeing a huge desire to get back to live. Some people are sort of skipping the hybrid route and just want to go back to live as soon as possible. There's talk of virtual fatigue. I don't know if that's another buzzword, but certainly hearing that a lot, that this could be the last virtual event and next time it's definitely going to be live. We mentioned this a little bit when we spoke about how some people are a little bit nervous about going back to live. And you've got to remember as well that some of the people we work with, they're not event specialists and they may not have actually run a live event before. So sort of guiding them back to live, I think, is going to be quite a key thing as we move forward. But then again, we have the other clients who, missed a live tremendously and are just jumping straight in with both feet, really keen to get back to it.
And, we were talking before, I've been seeing a lot of the content sessions, in the past day. Like yesterday, there was a content session with some of the corporates, and they were saying, actually, we can't wait to go to live. Admittedly, they were more an incentive-based, but they're like, absolutely no way to hybrid. What would you say to that? What's the conversations?
Yeah, we think hybrid has been working really well for us. A lot of people aren't ready to go back straight to live, as you're saying. Some people have just not done it before. Some people are still nervous. Some people won't travel. It's very much the same as how people are working in offices at the moment. It's not you're back in 5 days a week. It's more of a hybrid working environment, 2 days, 3 days at home or not. So we found that most of our clients at the moment are wanting to do a hybrid version of what their conferences, whatever it might be, are at the moment, because they don't have to get people to travel. It is kind of a bit more cost effective. We do quite a lot multinationally, so there are still restrictions in other countries which make it harder for people to travel anyway. So if you can kind of mediate and kind of come to something which is a sensible solution for everybody and have the most attendance you could have at those events for the same sort of price, and I think people are really keen to do it. It has also been seen that it works. People do respond well to virtual or hybrid events.
Do you find it is the same sort of price though? Because for us, if we've got one live event that we deliver and then we want to make that hybrid, you're almost delivering it live, and then you're kind of delivering adding a tech solution on that so that the tech people feel part of the live event, but you're not charging them twice, but you like their original costs of their original live event haven't gone down, so making it hybrid has actually increased. I mentioned before, if you're doing like 10 road shows and then you cut it for 5 and you do one hybrid, then you're winning. But if you're just doing one event and you're making it truly hybrid, you're actually making it a lot more expensive for them, aren't you?
But I think they tend to be smaller, and then also if you're talking about multinational, where you're flying people in, you're paying for hotels, you're paying for F&B for 3-4 days. So if you're actually looking at an accumulative cost of what that single event would cost, even if it's coming from different budgets, you tend to end up costing the same thing. Yes, you've still got the production value, which has to be tied in, or doing a really good platform for it as well. But we found generally overall it kind of ends up costing about the same without the kind of ecological impact.
I think there's so many variables in that question, because you don't know where people are travelling from, so it could just be a sort of regional meeting, and my answer would be yes, actually hybrid events are more expensive. And what we always say as an agency, and how we would probably define hybrid, another buzzword, when we were trying to figure out like our point of view on hybrid, when everyone started talking about it, we kind of said, well, what you're doing is you're creating two very different experiences for the same event. So you can't just pick up your live and copy your content into virtual. It doesn't work. You've got two very different audiences who want very different things. So you're not just looking at a platform and the live production, you're looking at the content creation too, and the creative outputs, the actual deliverables. So yes, you don't necessarily double everything, but you're definitely looking at a huge sort of impact on budget there, I think.
And I think when clients are setting these things up, like, they're almost assuming that people are going to come, but they're offering... So they're kind of assuming that I know you said the travel costs might be reduced, but they're going into it thinking 90% are still going to travel, we're doing this for the other 10%. Or they might be thinking, we're doing this for the people that we never get to come to this event. If they normally do an event and they have a 40% attendance, they might think we'll still get the same 40% attendance, but we'll also get a much larger audience, which is what we've found. Yeah. So in that scenario, I know there's so many different, but in that scenario, I agree with you. Like, it is more expensive, isn't it?
It is. Because another thing we kind of settled on when we were thinking about our point of view is what hybrid isn't. And it isn't just a broadcast, and it isn't just recording it and putting it as on-demand content afterwards. So if you're thinking of it from that angle, yeah, okay, it probably isn't that much more expensive. But if we're talking about a truly hybrid experience where you've got two different audiences watching and experiencing what's relevant to them, then yes, hybrid's more expensive.
Yeah.
I would say, from my
Yeah.
point of view.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But then looking to you know, between the three of you, you've all spoken about the virtues of, you know, virtual, live and hybrid. Looking to the future, what do you think, you know, I think certainly from our perspective, the product offering now is great. And I was just talking about one of my clients in particular now, where for a particular event they're doing, where they're launching a product, previously it'd be a roadshow, there'd be like 10 locations, different accommodation, and now they can get, say, 2,000 advisors on a call for about 45 minutes with content that's going to last forever, whereas if it was in person, they might get 400 people. So for that, virtual is here to stay. Whereas in person, where they had their sales team, they were like hugging. We had that last week, they were looking at each other's face. You know, they were really, really happy to see each other. So, I mean, what do you think with all these different, what we have on offer, what do you think the future is?
Well, one thing to note that we've noticed is that you can actually get better content. So if you imagine that some of you speakers won't travel for these sort of things. So we work for a paint company, it's very glamorous, but we've had the chief exec from Pittsburgh speaking live to an event that he never would have flown all the way over the UK to kind of address these people. But, you know, we get 20 minutes of the top person's time because actually they can fit that into their schedule with time zones and things like that. And they never would have interacted with those group of people unless they'd have physically flown to that event. And that's why this client of ours used to fly 300 people around every quarter to do these events. There's no way in the world they're doing that again. They will probably do it once and do it 3 times virtually. And that, to us as a business, the roadshow events were all done all over the world, so we never got that business. But now we're doing so for us, it's like a massive growth within that client. But it's just enabled like really senior people and experts. We did an event up at COP26, and we got one of like the chief designers from Boeing to come and speak virtually at the live event, which he never would have been able to do, but he was like, I want to be able to be part of this event. So there's those sort of wins as well that you're getting from it, that people, well, we'd never done it before, so we wouldn't have suggested that. That might be old hat to you, but to us, and you know, it's really enhanced like the proposition that we're offering people.
So what I'm hearing here is it's actually, for the future, it's complementary.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, would you agree?
The way I see it probably pan out is, as an agency, we want to be a partner, right? So when we get a briefing, we should probably be sitting down with our clients and just having those really open, honest conversations. Like, what are you trying to achieve? Like, why are you even having this event? And then matching a solution to that. I agree virtual will still have a place. I definitely think people will move back to live as soon as they can, even if they slowly move back to virtual or a hybrid solution further down the path. But the other question we ask as well is, like, does it actually have to be an event? Are you just ticking a box? And could it be another form of comms? And what we're actually seeing a lot at the moment is a lot of people saying the main thing they want to do is just engage people for a prolonged amount of time and not just have these moments in time where they attend an event and then go off and do their day job. So we're actually seeing more sort of long-term communication campaigns, which actually for an agency isn't the best solution. It's not the most profitable way to work, but I think people are realising there's other ways to communicate. So yeah, I think that would be my answer. Like, if you want convenience and personalisation and people can just tune in for the bits that are relevant to them, virtual is probably the right way to do it. If you want to celebrate, if you want to see the whites of each other's eyes and have that kind of collective moments of awe, go back to live. Yeah.
But it sounds as well that you've got a sort of complementary, I suppose, event portfolio that's sort of driven in sort of creating a really good relationship with your client. So it's the longer view rather than the short-term goal of a big event and, you know, like that, how that calendar is looking. So whilst it might not be profitable, actually for the client and that relationship, it's actually better.
Absolutely. We don't want to be an agency that just says yes to everything.
Yeah.
And I think, again, we also had this conversation briefly, the reason we're picking up awards as agencies is because we challenge briefs and we try and give them something they're not necessarily expecting.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't just want to, you know, sit back and tick boxes and smile sweetly and say yes. We want to challenge the creativity. And
What you said about that engagement piece, I think, is totally true, because actually a lot of the time that's what people want. They want to engage, and just because we've always engaged with people through events doesn't mean events is kind of the best way to do that. And a lot of the work that we do at the moment is this kind of big exhibition world where you might get, because it's in retail, like if you look at the objectives of these clients with sustainability, like although a lot of my clients have gone back to these big live exhibitions, I cannot believe in 10 years' time Coca-Cola, Diageo, Molson Coors will be building massive exhibition stands that they store and drag around the country. I do not see that happening in 10 years' time. And we might be all rushing back to live now and reaping the benefits of that. But I think that people will be looking at technology to engage with their customers and partners. And it might not be that big event. It just might not be. And I just think, because we work for both sides, so we work for some brands, and we see their sustainability and you just kind of like, well, that is not carting something around the country and doing a roadshow with all the, you know, when you can interact digitally. And
What would you say, Rob? Yeah, sorry.
Do you not think that's cyclical though? Because if you look at any form of marketing or like brand marketing particularly, you know, print goes through the roof or social goes through the roof. And then in 2019, experiential in-person live events as a form of marketing was what was really pushing hard. Now, as you said earlier, it's changing again because people are used to, you know, doing it virtually or not, you know, going to an experiential event. So brands have rethought how they have to position themselves. But I feel that'll go full circle again. It's another great string to the bow to have, you know, virtual hybrid, because, you know, not one size fits all for every campaign or every activation. It never will. And I think that's what's exciting about this industry, you know, and bigger clients. You always have to dissect what is best for their brief. And is it across a load of disciplines, or is it one which, you know, you might just do a virtual event because you think that's the best for that, you know, for that solution. But I don't know what I'm saying. I think it will continue to go full circle. Everything kind of goes in a cycle, and at some point I feel more live will come back again, and then it will taper off to, you know, maybe more hybrid, or, you know, I think people get fatigue from brand in their, you know, in their face really. Social media spend has gone through the floor because people are so bored of seeing adverts on social media.
But you talked about yesterday in the corporates and incentives and that not working virtually, which I totally agree. But, you know, we've had an incentives division of our business, and, you know, you'd have people, like, dropping out of things the day before, like, the most amazing things, because there's that incentive fatigue, and I can't be asked to go to the Monaco Grand Prix tomorrow. And you're like, are you joking? But, like, that has genuinely happened, that people had that fatigue of doing those trips. Now you're getting live trips coming back, and people are absolutely desperate to kind of be on that. And I think you need to be an agile agency that has got the different divisions that can offer the different products, so that ultimately you can then own the client, and then whatever the client wants to do, you can work with them in that best way. That's how we've grown.
I would say though, if people aren't going to an event, then maybe that wasn't the right solution for that event and it should have been a different format. But I think if you've got a live event and you are giving people a reason to go that they can't replicate in a virtual environment, and your pre-comms communication is drip feeding excitement and you know, building that momentum, and they're going to have an experience live that you can't have virtually or in a hybrid environment, then I think people will go. So if people are saying no to the Monaco Grand Prix, I mean...
No, I agree with what you're saying, and you should be reinventing. But ultimately, if you work in an industry where you've been in that industry 30 years and you've been to the Monaco Grand Prix 20 times, people will get fatigue of it, as crazy as that sounds. And, you know, then you should be saying, well, should we do something different? But then the client, 9 times out of 10, will say, but we know the Monaco Grand Prix works for 90% of our people and we love going, so they go. But, I mean, that in incentives, I tell you now, I can't tell you the things that people have dropped out of because there is that fatigue and they've been doing it for years and years and years.
I think the other thing we haven't mentioned yet as well, which is so obvious actually when you think about it, and probably all do it here, is at a live event, it's those serendipitous moments again. And I'm not going to say water cooler moments because I've never spoken to someone at a water cooler. But that is the thing, right?
Yeah.
You're not actually necessarily going just for the content. You're going for the meaningful connections you're going to make during coffee breaks and the like. And we actually had a brief recently for a live event, and they said, like, really focus on the network and like bring it to life. And we spent ages thinking about how we could make it fun and make it, you know, like wow. And then we're like, nah, like that's not what people want right now. Let's strip all that back out and make it just really simple, like good food, good music, a good drink, and let people chat and mingle.
Absolutely.
And that you cannot do virtually very successfully.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
And it's not, you don't, I mean, it, like you were saying, I think virtual has made our lives very structured. You structure the phone calls, you structure the conversation, you structure the networking, feeding questions to make sure there's an environment. We've put just under 10 minutes, and I just wanted to ask and touch upon, just briefly, you spoke about, you know, you've all spoke about the different portfolio that you're providing for your clients. There's been a lot of conversations about recruitment, talent acquisition, you know, we've been talking about, you know, great resignation, or, you know, there's not enough people to employ in the skill set. In terms of looking to the future or what you've been doing, and I'll start with Robbie first, what do you think in terms of the skill set that you need? So do you find that it's something that people can think, or you've got it already in-house, or are you having to recruit differently as you're looking forward to the work that you have on the books? Are you having to look at different skill sets? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's now kind of almost for us a bit of a prerequisite that people have an understanding of what is available and what's possible. And I think it really goes back to, again, offering what's best to your clients. You know, we don't want someone to not offer any sort of virtual solution at all because they just don't know about it, or they're scared about, you know, what the outcome might be, or they just don't have the intrinsic understanding of what that could be for them. So for us, I think we definitely want people to have an understanding. No one has to be a stream professional or has to, you know, be able to understand the full tech behind any of it, but they have to be able to understand why it'd be a really good fit for a brand, for a client, for an agency. So yeah, I think going forwards, we would expect people to know about it. It's the development within the sector. And, you know, saying the string to the bow is you know, it is a core service offering from us now. And so, yeah, we definitely expect people to have a good understanding.
And how about you, Nathy? Are you having to recruit differently or the same? Or what sort of behaviours are you looking for in individuals?
Yeah, I don't think we're recruiting differently, but certainly I'd agree with that completely, that we're looking for, like, you know, producers and the like that can wear all those hats. We don't just want producers who can do live or producers who can do virtual. We'd expect now, given the environment, that they'd have each of those strings to the bow. So that's what we're really looking for, people that can think outside the box. And it goes for the creative team as well, actually, like not just a solution that could work live, but what would you do then if we did have to move that into a virtual or hybrid solution? Would it still work? How would you adapt it? And just thinking differently. So, yeah, people who've got many hats.
Yeah. Would you agree, Michael?
Yes and no. I think there are certain skill sets that are very niche that you kind of need to have, but you've got to, and I can only speak for myself, but if you look at our business, we had nobody with any virtual experience, and we won 4 virtual awards last year. Yeah. So it just shows you that with the right attitude that you can actually achieve these things. And everyone is complaining about how hard it is to recruit. That's because you're looking for a senior project manager with 5 years experience, and so is everybody else. And there's something called the High Performance Podcast, and there's a Toto Wolff one that you should all listen to. It's really good. But he talks about recruiting on attitude and getting the right people. And when he joined McLaren, they only had engineers that had graduated from Yale, Harvard, Oxford or Cambridge. And he basically said, if that was the case, I wouldn't be your boss because that's not my background. And what if we look for people that are mad keen Formula One fans that might not have had that chance, that just want to do something different, and they went on to dominate for the next 10 years. And, what I'm thinking now is, because we're all struggling to find these people that fit in these boxes, why don't we just say, let's look for somebody that is a real lateral thinker that can solve problems. We have something at XM called We Make People Happy, and that's like our mantra, and it's kind of working out a way to solve that solution. And yes, if you need a technical producer or something, I'm not saying that you kind of don't, but I think if you look at senior project managers and things like that, having people from different walks of life that look at different opportunities, and then you're not going to get 6 agencies all wanting the same people as well, could be the way to look at your recruitment problems moving forward.
No, it's really interesting. Well, thank you so much. I think I've certainly found, we've been talking about this and found some more nuggets there. It's been really, really interesting. We've got 5 minutes left. I want to open up the floor for any questions. Who has the first question?
I'll move quicker. That was
Thank you,
slow,
thank you.
wasn't it? Sorry.
Obviously, in the last few years with virtual events, there's been reams and reams of data, lots of analytics dashboards that clients have been able to see the performance of their virtual events. As you kind of move back to live now, how do you think clients are going to react, or what questions are they going to be asked about measuring success and measuring performance of live, and the lessons that you've learned from kind of virtual in the last 2 years?
Who wants to answer that question?
I can have a go. I think it really depends how you're going to measure it, of course, and what the main objectives are. And one thing we're seeing at the moment of a lot of events, and it depends on your event as well. If it's purely to say you're getting everyone together to celebrate or something like that, then fine. But if you're delivering something and you want people to be accountable for an action afterwards, then the way you're going to measure it is in the action they take post-event. So I don't think it matters what the virtual event data looks like or what the live event data looks like. It's really about that accountability afterwards, and I think that's what we're seeing a lot of our events at the moment. And it goes back to that comment I made earlier about these moments in time. They're not really working anymore, so we want to see that people have listened and then gone on beyond the event and been accountable for something tangible and implemented it. So we're measuring more on the success of the event is people have learned something and they're now taking action on it. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does. I guess one of the points as well is measuring engagement is obviously very key, because you have that in a virtual environment in terms of how long they've been on the platform and what they've engaged with, what content they've engaged with. Obviously, there are sales-led pieces there. But I think measuring engagement is quite a universal thing.
Yeah.
That it'd be interesting to look at when people go, well, I used to get all this data from virtual events, and now I'm back in room.
Do you think people really want to see it? Because I know we provide it, but I'm not sure how much people really look at it.
I work in the virtual event space, so we have a lot of clients asking that.
Yeah.
So, but yes, your horses for courses, I guess, in terms of what you're trying to achieve.
I know what you're
I
saying.
think in that
The
sense.
big argument for virtual as well is how much were people actually engaging with the content which they were kind of sat in front of, because you were told you had to attend a conference, or it was on, were you making a cup of tea, or were you sat with it on in the background while sending emails. That's not engaging with content. And to your point, is how much is actually taken away from it post, and how much can you talk about it, how much, if you have social listening tools, how much noise about the event or the activation is there post. So I think you can look at different ways of people engaging with live events as you can with virtual events, but actually probably get a bit more real data as opposed to someone was sat in front of their computer and you don't know how much was taken in.
It's true. Anyone else? Who has the next question before we close? Yeah, go on, Chet.
Hi, Michael, you mentioned about a communications platform across, so events are quite lumpy, virtual events could be quite lumpy, live events can be lumpy, you've got the live event, you've got post, but have you found any building digital communities where your clients are actually engaging across a whole level of stuff, and what are you using for that, and how are you keeping them engaged if you are keeping them on a platform or in a some sort of digital solution? Any examples?
Yeah, so we're building something at the moment for one of our clients, and it's basically going to be a central hub where any of their retailers can go for information, whether that be on new COVID guidelines or whatever it might be. It's also where they're going to go for the latest deals and offers that are done on a monthly basis. So you're drawing people in to kind of create this community thing. You've then got a top 100 club that sits inside that, where you can get those 100 people to network with each other's, give best practice and all these sort of things. And my clients suffer in the fact that a lot of their business has gone online, so people aren't going into depot. They're not doing that, so they're not seeing their big customers. So they need a reason to bring them together, and this hub will create that, as well as being the platform for them to kind of communicate to them. What we do is quite niche in kind of who we work with, but there's definitely horses for courses where this is kind of here to stay, and it will like enable that. And I think, you know, to get into training and all that sort of stuff, to do that digitally, and like there's opportunities for us to move into different things by using the technologies and the skills that we've got and selling different services, basically.
Brilliant. Thank you. And thank you, all three, for being so generous with your answers and sharing your experiences as well. I think we all agree it was a very interesting debate. Over to you, Sam.
Thank you. There was no wrestling, Lisa.
No
I thought that's what you were going to say.
Got them well trained.
I think that one phrase that makes me twitch, well, there's so many phrases that make me twitch, sorry, one's probably not to stand by the by the speaker when you've got microphone, is Zoom fatigue. Is it not lack of event design fatigue that we've experienced? And I work across the spheres hosting, and it's quite frustrating sometimes when people are going back, like people were doing, going back to live. It's like we're not going back and asking the questions that you guys are, which is why you're all award winners. So congratulations. You too can all be award winners. How long have we got to enter the V Awards now? 15th of April, so there is still plenty of time to be showcasing your incredible events and the outputs from them. So sign up online at MiceBook. Once more, a massive round of applause for our panel and our moderator. We are almost at the end of the content room, but you can't go anywhere because, yet again, because we're doing this virtual hybrid live in person, I'm going to go over to the man on the ground who's going to tell you about the last session that we've got in MiceBook Content Room 2022. Over to you, David. Thank you very much. You will be switched on any second now.
Is it working now?
Yes, it is.
Great. Okay, so the last session of this year's MiceBook Expo Re-Engineered will be London Regenerated. So it's just going to be a fun session talking about the areas of King's Cross, so the area around this hotel, and also the legacy from the 2012 Olympics, which is the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park over in East London. And what we're trying to do is give events planners and buyers some tools to take away that will inspire them to bring their group to these two incredible areas of London. So hope you can join us. That's in 10, 15 minutes, I believe.
Yes, it is. Thank you. And
Thank you.
over and out. See you in 10 minutes. Thanks, everyone.